Welcome to today's lecture. Today we will be studying about the muscles of the anterolateral abdominal wall. The muscles in the anterolateral abdominal wall consist of 5 pairs of muscles. So these muscles are present on either side of the midline. So the 3 large flat muscles which are named from outside to inside, they are: first is external oblique, second internal oblique, third is transversus abdominis. Coming to the vertical muscles. So there is one large vertical muscle, it is called the rectus abdominis, and a small vertical muscle that is called the pyramidalis. So this picture is showing the transverse section of the abdomen. We are studying the muscles of the anterolateral abdominal wall. So here the muscles what we saw from outside to inside, you can see. So this is the external oblique muscle, this is the internal oblique, then this is the transversus abdominis muscle. Then this muscle what you are seeing here, so this is the rectus abdominis muscle, whereas the pyramidalis muscle you are not seeing in this slide. So here these 3 muscles, that is the external oblique, internal oblique and the transverse abdominis, so these were the flat muscle, whereas rectus abdominis and pyramidalis muscle will be the vertical muscle. So these 3 flat muscles, they are fleshly posterolaterally. So you can see the muscle, it is bulk posterolaterally and it is aponeurotic anteromedially. So this is the aponeurosis which is formed by the muscle. So this is just the enlarged view which is showing the aponeurosis of all these 3 muscles, then the rectus abdominis muscle. So the aponeurosis of these muscle pass towards the middle to enclose the rectus abdominis muscle and pyramidalis muscle. So pyramidalis muscle you are not seeing in this slide. They then fuse with each other and with the aponeurosis of the muscle of the opposite side in the median fibrous raphe, and that is called the linea alba. In the coming slides we will study about individual muscles. So here I just want to show you. So this is the linea alba. So in the midline you can see the median fibrous raphe. So this linea alba is extending from the xiphoid process up to the pubic symphysis. So this is the linea alba. Now coming to the flat muscle, the 3 flat muscle, that is external oblique, internal oblique and transverse abdominis, they form 3 distinct layers in the anterior abdominal wall. The neurovascular structures are present in between the internal oblique layer and the transverse abdominis muscle layer. So now coming to the external oblique muscle, so what you are seeing here, so this is the outermost muscle. So this is the external oblique muscle, this is the aponeurosis of the external oblique muscle and they meet in the midline. So this is the linea alba. So this external oblique muscle, it is the most superficial of the 3 flat muscle. So it lies immediately deep to the superficial fascia. Its laterally placed muscle fibers, what you are seeing here, so they pass in an inferomedial direction. You can see the muscle fibers, the direction of it is inferomedially. So its aponeurotic component covers the anterior part of the abdominal wall to the midline. So in this diagram what you can see, this is the external oblique muscle, then this is the aponeurosis of the external oblique muscle, then this is the iliac crust. Just remember, in this iliac crust it has been made up of like outer lip, intermediate area as well as the inner lip. So this will be helpful to know about the attachments. So coming to the origin of the external oblique muscle, so it arises from the muscular slips from the outer surface of the lower 8 ribs. So that is from 5th rib up to the 12th rib. That is from the outer surface of the lower 8th rib is the origin of external oblique. Then coming to the insertion, the posterior most fibers, what you are having here, they pass vertically downwards to be inserted into the outer lip of the anterior 2/3 of the iliac crust. The remaining fibers pass downwards, forwards and medially to end into the broad aponeurosis, which is inserted into the linea alba. Then coming to the nerve supply, so the external oblique muscle is supplied by anterior primary rami of lower 6 thoracic spinal nerves, that is from T7 to T12 spinal nerves. So in this picture, what you can see, the external oblique muscle, then this is the aponeurosis of it, then the hip bone, the parts, here you can see anterior superior iliac spine, then here the pubic tubercle. So the coming to the other features, what is related to the external oblique muscle. So one is the free lower border of the aponeurosis, what you are having here, the aponeurosis of external oblique, the lower border. So this is thickened and rolled inwards on itself to form the inguinal ligament. So this ligament, what you are having here, this is the inguinal ligament, which is formed from the lower border of the aponeurosis. So this inguinal ligament will extend from anterior superior iliac spine up to the pubic tubercle. Then another feature what you are supposed to see is, so above, so here you will be having the pubic symphysis where both the hip bones meet. So above the pubic symphysis, the aponeurosis presents an triangular area or triangular gap, which is called the superficial inguinal ring. So these two are the other features which is related to the external oblique muscle. So now coming to internal oblique muscle. So what you can see here, so this is the internal oblique muscle. This is the aponeurosis of internal oblique muscle. So this is the iliac crust. This is the inguinal ligament. So this internal oblique muscle, it lies deep to the external oblique muscle. This muscle is smaller and thinner than the external oblique. Most of its muscle fibers pass in an superomedial direction. So the muscle fibers will pass in an superomedial. The fibers will run upwards as well as medially. It passes to superomedial direction. Coming to the origin of these fibers, so it arises from lateral 2/3 of the upper surface of the inguinal ligament. So this is the inguinal ligament. So it arises from lateral 2/3 of upper surface of inguinal ligament. Then intermediate area of the anterior 2/3 of the iliac crust. Then also from the thoracolumbar fascia. So coming to the insertion, the posterior fibers which arises from the thoracolumbar fascia ascend vertically to insert into the lower border of lower 3 to 4 ribs. Then the fleshy fibers which is taking origin from the iliac crust, they run upwards, forwards and medially and end in a broad aponeurosis which is inserted into the 7th, 8th as well as 9th costal cartilages. Then the fibers which take origin from the inguinal ligament, they arch over the inguinal canal and they get inserted into the pubic crust as well as the pecten pubis. Coming to the nerve supply, it is supplied by the anterior primary rami of lower 6 thoracic nerves, that is from T7 to T12, and first lumbar nerve L1, that is through the iliohypogastric and ilioinguinal nerves. In this picture, what you can see, so this is the inguinal ligament, this is the anterior superior iliac spine of hip bone, then this is the lower fibers of internal oblique. So here what you are having, this is the spermatic cord, this is the testis, surrounding the testis you can see the cremasteric muscle. So coming to the other features, what is related to the internal oblique muscle. So first is called the conjoint tendon. So what you are having is, so this is called the conjoint tendon or falx inguinalis. It's FALX INGUINALIS, falx inguinalis. So this falx inguinalis is formed by the fusion of lower aponeurotic fibers of the internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscle. So this falx inguinalis or the conjoint tendon is arching over the spermatic cord. So this is spermatic cord, it is arching over it. Then the second feature which is related to it is the loops of cremasteric muscle and fascia, which forms the covering around the spermatic cord and testis. So this is derived from the internal oblique muscle. So now coming to the transversus abdominis muscle. So what you can see in this picture, so these fibers what is cut, that is from the external oblique muscle. This is the internal oblique which is cut. Then what you are seeing here, these are the transverse abdominis muscle. This is the aponeurosis of the transverse abdominis muscle. So it is the innermost of the three flat muscle which is lying below the internal oblique muscle. Then the direction of most of the fibers is horizontal or transverse. So this picture is showing the transversus abdominis muscle. So this is the transverse abdominis muscle, this is the aponeurosis of the muscle. Then here you are having the thoracolumbar fascia. Then this is the iliac crust. This is the inguinal ligament. So coming to the origin of this muscle. So the lateral 1/3. So origin 1 is from the lateral 1/3 of the upper surface of the inguinal ligament. Second is from the inner lip of the anterior 2/3 of the iliac crust. Then third is the thoracolumbar fascia. Then fourth is inner surface of the lower 6 ribs and their costal cartilages. Then coming to the insertion. So most of the fibers run horizontally and end in a broad aponeurosis which is inserted into the linea alba. Then the inguinal fibers, what is arising from the inguinal ligament. So these fibers, they arch forming the roof of the inguinal canal and joins with the aponeurosis of the internal oblique to form the conjoint tendon. So this conjoint tendon is inserted into the pubic crust and the medial part of pecten pubis. Coming to the nerve supply, it is supplied by the anterior primary rami of lower 6 thoracic nerve, that is T7 to T12, and first lumbar nerve, that is L1, through the iliohypogastric and ilioinguinal nerves. Coming to the vertical muscles. So the vertical muscles are a large vertical muscle that is called the rectus abdominis muscle and a very small vertical muscle that is called the pyramidalis muscle. So these vertical muscles are present on either side of the midline. They are enclosed by the aponeurosis which is formed from the 3 pairs of flat muscles. So in this picture what you can see over here, so this is the rectus abdominis muscle, this is the linea alba. So coming to the rectus abdominis muscle, So it is a long flat strap muscle which extends vertically upwards along the linea alba from the pubic symphysis below to the costal margins above. So it widens as it ascends from the pubic symphysis to the costal margins above. So if you see this rectus abdominis muscle, so it is wider above whereas it is narrow below. So coming to the origin of this rectus abdominis muscle, it arises from two tendinous heads. So one is called the medial head, another is called the lateral head. So the medial head will arise from the anterior surface of pubic symphysis, where both the pubic part of hip bones meet. So that is called the pubic symphysis. So from there the medial head will arise. Then the lateral head, it arises from the lateral part of the pubic crust and pubic tubercle. Then coming to the insertion, it is inserted by fleshy fibers into the xiphoid process as well as 5th, 6th and 7th costal cartilages. Then coming to the nerve supply, it is supplied by lower 6 intercostal as well as the subcostal nerve, that is from T6 up to T12 spinal nerves. Then another thing what you are supposed to know is this rectus abdominis muscle is intersected by 3 to 4 transverse fibrous bands and they are called the tendinous intersection. So these tendinous intersection, so the first tendinous intersection you are having at the level of xiphoid process. Then another second tendinous intersection in between the xiphoid process and the umbilicus. Third tendinous intersection at the level of umbilicus. And you will also be having sometimes the fourth intersection which is present below the umbilicus. So each tendinous intersection passes horizontally in a zigzag manner and is attached to the anterior wall of rectus sheath. So in this picture the rectus sheath anterior wall is removed. So this intersection will be attached to the anterior wall of rectus sheath. The tendinous intersection divides the long muscle into small columns, or it is called the shorter segments, to provide more strength. Now coming to the pyramidalis muscle. So you can see another very small muscle over here what is present. So this is the vertical muscle that is called the pyramidalis muscle. So the muscle is rudimentary in human beings. It is a small triangular muscle lying anterior to the lower part of rectus abdominis muscle. So this is the rectus abdominal muscle. In the lower part of it, anterior to the rectus abdominis muscle, this muscle will be present. So this pyramidalis muscle, this triangular shaped muscle is also lying within the rectus sheath. It has its base below in front of the pubis. Its apex is directed superiorly and medially to the linea alba. So this is the linea alba. It is absent in 20% of people. So coming to the origin of this muscle, it arises from the front of the body of pubis. Coming to insertion, it is inserted into the linea alba midway between the umbilicus and the pubic symphysis. The nerve supply is subcostal nerve, that is T12 spinal nerve. The action of this pyramidalis muscle is it tenses the linea alba. Now coming to the main functions of the anterior abdominal wall muscle. So these muscles, they provide the strong and expandable support for the abdominal viscera against gravity and protect them from injury. Second is it assists in both quiet and forced expiration by pushing the viscera upwards, which help push the relaxed diaphragm further into the thoracic cavity. It also helps in coughing and vomiting. Third is, it compresses the abdominal contents to increase the intra-abdominal pressure. So it also helps in parturition, that is for during childbirth, then micturition, that is urination, as well as defecation. Then to move the trunk to maintain the posture, and it is also involved in heavy weight lifting. Coming to clinical importance. So first is hernia. If the abdominal muscles are weak, it leads to hernia. Then second is cremasteric reflex. So if the upper medial aspect of the thigh is being stroked, then there would be contraction of the cremasteric muscle, which in turn would lead to the elevation of the testis of the same side. So it is usually seen in children. Thank you for watching.